Now let's wrap up with our last topic here, translating English phrases to an algebraic expression. So here's my chart here outlining a couple of different things. We've got the four operations that we mentioned earlier: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then on the right side we see the actual expressions outlined as we saw before. What's different here are the different key phrases that should signify to you what particular operation we're trying to perform. So notice that if I wanted to imply addition, I could use the word plus, increased by, more than, and the same as can be true for the other operations. So something like the product of or the quotient of signifies these different operations, and there are variations on each. Now, the nice thing about these key phrases is that they help us build out the structure of what the actual expression should be. So let's look at a couple of examples here. Let's look at this second one, the quotient of 7 times x and y. So here's what I mean by identifying key phrases and letting that build the structure. So what are all the operations in this sentence? Well, quotient, we saw a second ago, signifies division. Times signifies multiplication. Now, the other key phrases, other than the operations that tell me what addition, multiplication, whatever I should be performing, are these smaller words of and, right? So the quotient of something and something else, right? So the very first of indicates the initial bit. Of and helps me build the structure of what's actually being performed. So the quotient signifies the first term following that key phrase is being divided by the second term of the key phrase. So of 7 times x, which is itself another phrase, gets divided by y. Since it's by itself, I can say very clearly that's going to be on the other side of the division sign. So notice that, again, the structure dictates what order this should be in. So 7 times x is another phrase in itself that needs to be deciphered. Well, 7 gets multiplied by x through the key phrase times, suggesting the product. So 7 times x, or 7x, is the phrase. And so now we have the algebraic expression signifying what the English phrase tells us to do. So the quotient of 7 times x and y. Let's look at the last example here. The last example here says 7 less than 3 divided by a number. So 7 less than 3 is an interesting phrase. It's one called a turnabout phrase that actually suggests that we have 3 and we take away 7, right? And again, divided by some number. Well, we don't know what the number is, but the order here actually dictates to us, again, how this should be set up. So 7 less than 3 is the first phrase, and it's going to get divided by a number. Well, we don't know what the number is, and we don't really care. We can represent it with some variable, let's say x in this case. So 7 less than 3, again, I told you is a turnabout phrase. That means we have 3, and we take away 7 from that. Now, since 7 less than 3 divided by a number is somewhat vague, it's unclear whether or not we have the entire phrase 3 minus 7 being divided by x, or if one of the two digits there is being divided by x. This is another one of the ambiguities of English. So that's going to be it. Next time we'll talk about integers and a few of their operations, and I'll see you on the next lecture.